Alright, so now that you've removed your head unit, we're going to need to start setting up to install the aftermarket head unit. One of the things you're going to need, or one of the things that I like to use, is a Scosche stereo wiring connector. Okay, you buy it for your specific model, and what it is a little harness like this that plugs into your factory OEM setup, and you connect your aftermarket wiring harness to it, so it's just a direct plug and play. You don't need to cut up your factory wiring harness or anything like that. And also a good plus for this technique is you can put your stock stereo back in it afterwards. Some things you'll need include soldering iron, as well as some heat shrink tubing, solder, and obviously a lighter for the heat shrink tubing. What I use is, I believe they call it a third arm, and it just lets you clamp the wires so that you can easily work on them without having to hold them while you're soldering. Now, a lot of people install stereos without soldering these connections, and they'll use what are called butt connectors instead. However, that method doesn't look professional and it's not as long lasting, so I highly prefer to use the solder. You'll be able to find a wiring diagram in the manual for your new head unit, which tells you where all of the wires from your head unit adapter should be connected to the Scosche wiring harness. Okay, now I'm going to set up for solder. I'm just going to go through soldering one of these connections. Show it is not very difficult. You can easily just set up the joint like that. Take your soldering iron and apply heat to the joint, and then add some solder. And as you see, it forms nicely on there, and you can kind of just touch it up as needed. Now I'm using a butane powered soldering iron, but you can use the cheap electric one from Home Depot, and that will get you the same results. Once you have made sure the joint is solid, you can go ahead and slide up your heat shrink wrap, and then just heat it up to shrink it. Okay? Now these sleeves are a little bit big, but they're the smaller ones, the smallest ones I've had. So, alright. Okay, so once you've completed all your solder joints, it'll look something like this. Now the Ford harness for the Focus that I'm installing this in uses two. Yours will probably just be one plug, but this is how the Focus is done. So you see here all the speaker wires, very neat, very sturdy. And then the power and ground lines and remote lines. Now in this model, Scosche has included some cables for connecting it to amplifiers, and if you have a power antenna or something like that, what you want to do with these is you want to insulate them. I just use some electric tape, but you can do it however you'd like. And as you can see, insulate the ends and then wrap it up so it's nice and neat and it doesn't take up a lot of space. And then I'm probably going to throw a couple little kind of electric tape bands around it to keep it nice and tidy. If you'll notice, there's another extra cable on the other end from the dual head unit that's being installed. So again, you'll need to insulate that and tie it back neatly. And then the finished product will just be nice clean harness. Plug it into the head unit, plug it into your car stereo, and you don't have to butcher any wires inside the car.